Hi, so Dr. Page here. And I want to talk a little bit about subconscious programming and how most of our activities within our life, all day, every day, is subconscious. We're outside of our conscious awareness. So, what that means, it's much like driving a car. Once you learn how to drive a car, you're not consciously aware the entire time. It's mostly subconscious until you see a light in front of you, or you see a stoplight, or you see someone run out, and then we react, right? So, the same thing is true for every single thing that we do. And essentially, by the time we're 25, we talk about being within 95 to 97% of subconscious programmed behaviors, actions, and reactions. So the brain develops the most, of course, from birth on, and then it starts to decline. And then at age 25, we really stop growing and we start tearing down more than we are building back up. So, athletes, as you get into your 20s, even though you may have been this amazing prodigy, doing fabulous, didn't have any performance anxiety, didn't have the yips, didn't have any blocks, by the time you start to enter your early 20s to 25 and beyond, this is when that subconscious programming from all the negative past things that have happened in your life, just life adversities or past sports failures or big losses or times that you didn't think that you performed well, watching other athletes get hurt, knowing what the negative outcome could be of that performance, is all subconscious. So therefore, our nervous system is acting and reacting when the pressure's on to compete based off all the subconscious negative things that have occurred. And what happens with this is we call it the trauma memory network. So life adversities, mental or physical, and then sports, mental or physical failures, injuries, whatever that looks like, those are all the same to the nervous system. We react the same way, and we go into shock. So kind of thinking about like the fetal position and that shock feeling. And even more so from ages like about 7 to 12 down to about 4, we don't really make beta wave, which is our sympathetic nervous system end of that fight, flight, freezy, and really being able to make sense of things. So we just freeze when negative things occur. When a coach yells at us, when we get in trouble at school, when we fall off our bike, whatever that looks like. It doesn't even have to be related at all to your sport. Even criticism in other sports or other things that you did. Say you were a musician or something when you were younger and now you're a baseball player. So all of those things matter. And what happens is we create this trauma memory network based off of survival. And every single negative thing ramps up our nervous system to more sympathetic dominance or that fight, flight, freezy out of survival. It actually resets our homeostasis. And our homeostasis is our way of being all the time. But what this does is it creates this subconscious programming. And so within that altered state, that subconscious, that is where we must work on releasing and reprocessing and desensitizing the nervous system to these things to allow for the nervous system to reset to a more calmer state, which the lower end of our nervous system, or that calm, rest and recovery and relax, is parasympathetic nervous system state. And that's down in like theta wave where we're sleeping and recovering and our body's rebuilding. And then in the middle is that alpha flow state. Well, alpha flow state is also that altered state or that subconscious programming state. So that's why when you're performing, you want to be an alpha. When you're dropping into alpha, then you are actually playing out maladaptive, negative subconscious programming. And so what we want to do when we are trying to change your subconscious programming so that you are performing optimally, because really, let's face it, beyond high school, you should be able to subconsciously play your sport intuitively without having to consciously think about it. And so that's where you start to get in that negative cascade of effects of when you're out on the field and you start having self-doubts and negativity and you start criticizing yourself and you start to get the body arousal, your body starts to react and the heart's racing, and then the cognitive anxiety of, oh my gosh, I got to do well. I could lose my spot. I could lose my contract. So to change all this subconscious programming, we must drop you into the altered state or the alpha flow state. And then we just simply go back through all of these negative experiences in as much detail as possible. It's like telling a story. We're accessing where we hold on to that shock, that freeze in our nervous system, because it'll show up instantly when we access that memory network. Then we release that shock, and then it resets your homeostasis to be calmer and keeping you in that alpha flow state all the time. And then that subconscious programming will be more of a positive one. Because as negative experiences occur, our amygdala, which is this pea-sized organ in our brain that produces that cortisol, that fight, flight, freeze, like adrenaline feeling, it becomes less active. So we're deregulating it. And then our hippocampus, so the area of our brain that when we're taking in this memory, we're taking in a ton of information every single second of every day, and we're not really consciously programming it. We are subconsciously programming it based off past experiences. It becomes stronger in the brain. So more energy goes to that area of the brain. So then therefore we are perceiving our current reality in a more positive light, not a negative one based off past experiences. And so that's when you start to get into these kind of like mental health symptoms of having anxiety and depression, because where there's an up, there's a down. And we get a high beta theta ratio when we do a brain scan, a QEEG brain scan. So you're going up and down, as opposed to just staying more level and happy and calm, cool, collected, confident, and composed in every aspect of your life, including sports performance. So we can actually reprogram that subconscious programming. And when we talk about quantum physics, we talk about it's the greater quantified field around us of energy, because basically our eyes are just looking at the quantified field of objects, right? So what you can actually see. So you can't really see the subconscious energetic programming. And it's kind of like that intuitive play. Like when you think of the, baseball player that just intuitively knew that the, baseball player was going to steal a base, and he just threw very intuitive flow state reaction. Not that he hesitated based off this trauma memory network and that muscle guarding that occurs too in that shock state. It was just that intuitive instinctual play. So we must reprogram our subconscious programming by resetting the nervous system in the homeostasis to a calmer one, by going back through all the negative past experiences, life and sports, and then desensitizing to the worst case scenarios, the bad things that can occur during the play. And it applies to every single athlete in every sport. There's always a negative outcome. There's always some body arousal or cognitive anxiety associated with what the bad thing that could happen, or not doing well, or not making the Olympic team, or not getting medaling at the Olympics, right? So subconscious programming, it's quantum physics based. And people have heard a lot about more recently brain states, right? And with the audiovisual entrainment that I talk about in other videos, we can shift our brain state, but we are not doing that reprocessing, desensitizing, resetting the nervous system work unless we're actually going into that altered state and reprocessing it. And the best way to do that is Alpha Imprinting. And I see about 12 sessions with an athlete, and we get you reset, back on track, staying in flow, and essentially loving your sport again. Because really what I see when athletes get to me that have had a lot of sports trauma or sports injuries or even life adversities, or just not liking their sport, or have all that self-doubt or that criticism coming in, just feeling like apathetic, or like, I don't know if I like my sport anymore. I see it about 12 sessions that an athlete is back on track, loving the sport, playing intuitively, and staying in that alpha flow state. So if you're ready to take your performance to the next level, or get back what you had previously been able to feel when you're out there and being in that flow state, comment alpha below, and we'll book you for a free 30-minute consultation and see if you're a candidate. Thanks.